Hi, I'm Cindy, but my friends call me Sindel. Welcome to my channel. As someone who loves a good romance book or movie and feels compelled to do their own storytelling, even though no one asked, I made a 5-part series following my favorite fated pair. I can never say that word right. Fated pair, Edward and Ada Vinther, to share their new story, and much like I've done with my Rags to Riches series, include some of their old story too, because who doesn't love a bit of lore? So essentially, this is going to be a lore drop video covering their full story, in their first life in Forgotten Hollow, their second life in Newcrest, and now their third life in Melano. But I am going to start from the current time period and work my way backwards, all the way back to 1890, where it all began. There will also be a little surprise at the end, so make sure you stay for that. No spoilers. Anyways, let's get into it. Starting with the current timeline in Melano in Paralives, with the series that I call a fated pair. I am trying so hard not to say faded. Edward and Ada have met before, in another life and another one before that. They've always been destined to cross paths and fall in love, even when the chaos of life tries, and sometimes succeeds, to tear them apart. Edward has never been good at anything. He's clumsy and unlucky at the best and worst of times. But since meeting Ada, he's at least found one thing he's good at: loving her. Perhaps his luck is starting to change? Ada has always felt like an old soul, like she was born decades ago. Ever since she can remember, she's carried a dread with her, like tragedy is guaranteed to strike. But with Edward by her side, how could it? It's spring 1st and this fated pair have officially moved to Melano, absolutely taken by the town's charm and the possible life they could create in it. While they wait for construction to start on their dream home, they're couch surfing with Ada's best friend. We all know her, we all love her, it's Maggie Vaughn. And trying really hard not to make her feel like a third wheel in her own house. Outside of exploring the town they now call home, what's next for these newly engaged lovebirds? Edward and Ada got married, opting for an intimate elopement at the picturesque community centre. They covered their something's old, new, borrowed, and blue, and the ceremony was nothing short of perfect. Now they just need the keys to their house so they can get off Maggie's couch and really get started on their new chapter together. Construction has finally begun at the Vinther's empty lot, and things are starting to come together. The pair of them can't wait to get their new furniture in and create some new memories in the space. And after experiencing some wild deja vu the last few days, things got even weirder when they found some uncanny vintage photographs at the antique store. It couldn't have been them in another life, right? That would be crazy, wouldn't it? The Vinthers are moving into their new house and are putting in the work to make it feel like a home. And whilst the first chapter of their new story in Melano is finished, the book has only just begun. What's next for this fated pair? Well, they've definitely got a surprise or two on the way. The rest? That's up to them. So that was the current timeline. There won't be as much lore because they've only just begun their life, but there will be more to come. And I do just need to interject here because the amount of times that I had to stop myself from crying when I recorded part 3 of their story, which was their wedding, I cannot even tell you. Like, I cannot. Now I will be moving on to the prior timeline, which was in Newcrest in The Sims 4, in what I called the aggressively average save file. Edward and Ada met in their last year of high school at Copperdale High. They became fast friends and found they had a lot in common. Though they hadn't ever run into each other before, they both lived in Newcrest, a suburb over, and found they shared more than just similar interests or favourite movies, but even in the more unfortunate parts of life, being that they'd both lost their parents in tragic ways. The year before, during school holidays, Edward was visiting his grandparents in Windenburg. It was then that his parents experienced a house fire at their vineyard in Henford-on-Bagley because someone forgot to buy a fire alarm. Both parents were found in bed, being entirely unaware of the fire. He ended up moving to Newcrest to live with his uncle. For Ada, she'd lost one parent after another, her mother to a sudden heart issue, and her father shortly after that, to an accident at sea. He was a skilled captain and fisherman with a massive crew, but his ship was found in pieces with strange suction marks on what was salvaged, almost like something had wrapped itself around the vessel. No crew members were found. The circumstances surrounding his passing were never made clear and remain classified. She moved in with her grandmother into a house handed down over generations, rumored to have been haunted, the infamous Duplantia dwelling. But it was over that spring that Edward and Ada's relationship blossomed from a solid friendship into a beautiful love story that felt like it had started in another life and carried over to this one. But just as they were about to graduate and find a place together, start a life and maybe even a family, a catastrophic event occurred, which left Newcrest and all surrounding towns completely wiped off the face of the earth. No one survived. That was the prior timeline, all wrapped up, and now I will be moving on to the first timeline, which was in Forgotten Hollow, in The Sims 4, in what I called the Decades Challenge, the Vinther Legacy. All that to bring me to where it all began. And these are the exact words I used in my very first ever YouTube video and episode 1 of the original challenge. What a humbling experience listening to that again. Here we have Edward Vinther, our patriarch. He comes from a long line of nectar makers, but has recently gone through hardship and tragedy when he lost his parents, the family vineyard, and his childhood home to a fire. He's starting all over again in the town of Forgotten Hollow after hearing a rumor about its fertile ground and is hoping to make something of himself now that his parents are gone. He's also got a special interest in vampire lore. We also have our matriarch here, Ada Vinther, who is no stranger to tragedy herself. She lost both of her parents, her mother to an unknown illness, and her father to a drowning incident when she was just a child, and has been on her own ever since. Despite her troubled life, she's managed to find a hard-working husband to take care of her and can't wait to start a family with him. She's creative and isn't sure if she wants to start painting or writing. Now after that, I did move them in, and this is what happened. Once they'd moved into their home, it didn't take long for them to fall pregnant. By 1891, Edward and Ada brought their twin sons into the world, Theodore and Patrick Vinther. Mum survived childbirth in a time where it was infinitely more risky than it is now, and both babies were healthy. What more could they have asked for? Then one quiet afternoon in 1892, Ada was making some jam when not the stove, but the fireplace set a rug on fire, and the fallout was large. Though the fire was put out and everyone was safe, or so they thought, Ada later passed away, a suspected fever. However, with the development of science and specifically medicine over the years, we know now that it was likely smoke inhalation that ultimately took her. Edward spent the next 2 years grieving Ada's loss and doing his best to raise his 2 sons on his own. His best friend, John Carpenter, ended up sending his eldest daughter, Florence, to live with the widower to help with the housework and child rearing. It was only then that Edward was able to meet the woman who would become his second wife in 1894, Ruth Chandler. She would go on to pass away on their wedding night after one too many glasses of nectar. After that, Edward developed a severe fear of death himself, so it took him many years to be open to marrying a third time. But in 1896, he met Rose Brown, and by 1897, they got married. She felt pregnant immediately, but they never got to find out what they were having, because catastrophe came for them. They fled from Forgotten Hollow to Windenburg, but catastrophe followed. And everyone who existed in one moment ceased to exist in the next. And that was the final part of the first timeline. So as you can see, the Vinthers have had one too many a tragic story. And by now, you might have guessed that before moving to Melano, Edward's parents perished in a fire. He used to live on a vineyard. Ada's parents died one after the other. Her mother, a heart attack. Her father, out at sea. Once he heard about his wife, he took his dinghy out with a few beers, and he hasn't been seen ever since. They found his boat. He wasn't in it. Suspected to have drowned. They keep reliving these similar and endlessly tragic lives. But this time, after Ada set fire to Maggie's kitchen, nothing bad happened. She made it out just fine. And now they've moved into the house, made it a home, and are starting the next stage of their lives. Now, the save I've been playing in with the Vinthers is Cactus. Bit by bit, it's becoming more wonky, so it might be a while until you see Edward and Ada again. But that was to be expected when playing a game in early access like Paralives, so I'm not worried. They'll be back. They always come back. If you enjoyed this little series, please let me know in the comments below. I had so much fun making it, even when my paras would not cooperate. And I'd be keen to make more, especially if you like them. Now, at the beginning of this video, I did mention that there is a surprise or two on the way for Edward and Ada, so I will pop that on the screen in just one moment. And if you made it this far, thank you for coming on this adventure with me.